That's right, we're going to talk about the canon of the Wario games. Where'd my filing cabinet go? Alright, we already know this little freak was introduced in Super Mario Land 2. He used a full-on alien invasion just to become a house squatter. Since then, he's popped up helping Mario take back Peach's castle, and his baby self helped Yoshi during one of the Yoshi Islands. Yoshi's Island. The elf guy was super popular within the company and got the upgrade from Antag to Protag with his very own series. After getting a taste of the privileged life in Mario's castle in the in-name only prequel, Mario Land 2, Wario decides he simply can't live without his own castle. So, while practicing being mean, which, you know, it's something every well-adjusted person does. Hello, is there a bozo there? Then who picked up the phone? I'm so fucking sorry. Anyway, he's practicing being mean and then just happens to remember a rumor about a group of pirates stealing a statue of Princess Peach. He figures this thing could sell for enough to pay for a brand new castle. So, you know, naturally goes to take on these brown sugar pirates at the kitchen aisles. I don't know, Wario. After checking Zillow, a solid gold statue of a princess will only get you about 1,000 square feet. As a one-man wrecking ball, he trashes the island and loots the pirates of their treasure before confronting the leader, Captain Syrup, and her genie. After a couple of bonks, Syrup decides to just blow the joint, revealing a statue in the wreckage of her castle. Alas, it wasn't meant to be anyway, as Mario swoops in and steals it back in his, trademark helicopter. Luckily, Wario held on to the genie's lamp and wished for a castle instead. But it turns out this genie has discovered capitalism, and depending on how much Wario collected depends on the quality of his castle. These range from a small birdhouse all the way up to his own little dwarf planet with his face on it. Now, future games show Wario living in the castle from the second best ending, which leads me to believe that, canonically speaking, Wario's a quitter. Not satisfied with the castle, Wario decides to expand out to the peaceful woods, taking over with some monster friends of his and renaming it Wario's Woods, which, it's the name of the game. A sprite of the forest seeks out Toad and Birdo, in this game going by the name Catherine. I choose to believe that this is her actual name, and everyone calling her Birdo is just really rude. But this also proves Birdo exists outside of Subcon. Anyway, the sprite can make bombs, and Toad uses those bombs to explode the invading species and Wario's pals until he finally confronts the big man himself and blows up his castle. Also, the ending text implies that Wario had the invading species under a spell, and defeating him broke his control. But, what about the literally thousands of dudes Toad's already exploded? Anyway, there's different versions of the game on the NES and SNES, and each has a different set of baddies, with the SNES version having an expanded story. The SNES version just adds a few more locations, and the bosses have a bit more personality added. I'd probably count the SNES one as canon, but I don't think it really matters. None of these bosses have appeared in any game since. Next up, we got Wario Blast featuring Bomberman, which is just a weird way of saying Game Boy Bomberman featuring Wario. Yeah, this is a Bomberman game through and through, and the only thing that says Wario about this is you either play as him or you fight robots that look like him. This was originally the first game in the handheld Bomberman series, but when it came to localizing it, Hudson looked to Nintendo to help with sales and just slapped Wario's big stinky mug on it. So, what does this mean for the story? Well, taking a page out of the laziest fanfics, Wario just finds an interdimensional portal to Bomberland and decides to enslave the poor robos. Now, the game allows you to play as either Wario and attempt to conquer the planet, or as Bomberman himself to defend it. This changes absolutely nothing. You go through the same stages, fight the same bosses, and even see the same ending cutscene. It literally only swaps the sprites between the player and enemies. In either game, you never even see the opposite character. Only mad bombers that take on their appearance. Anyway, it doesn't really matter who's picked, as no matter what, it ends with Bomberman driving his motorcycle through the canyons of Planet Bomber, with Wario chasing him forever until you shut off the Game Boy. Now, which playthrough is canon? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. The game is presented from Wario's perspective, and the ending cutscene is just Wario catching up to Bomberman in the end. I'm going to assume he did not succeed in taking all the Mad Bombers back to MK, but maybe he found a healthy supply of bombs to take home and a sick new hog to ride. Wario next decides to go on vacation to the Awazon River Basin. Because he's really made that whole upside-down M thing his whole personality. But in 3D! That's right, one of Wario's accomplishments is being 7.14% of the entire Virtual Boy's game catalog, joining the likes of Kevin Costner. While relaxing, he notices some little dudes bringing in their property and decides to just follow them right into their home. Now, the manual is written from a first-person perspective, from Wario, and so he claims that they proceed to jump him. But the game's version of events show him coming in from behind and body slamming them. Not satisfied with assault, he sets his eyes on burgling their gold when a trapdoor drops him down into a huge cave system. Undeterred, Wario just decides to loot from the inside out, culminating in him releasing a demon genie. and depending on the ending, purchases a new ride from the beavers that disturbed him in the first place, or if he collected all of the treasures, they act as a set of keys for the vault, allowing him to fly his way out on a magic carpet with the genie's bottle and potentially a cute bunny girl. The third Wario Land game, which is number 2, but also maybe Super Mario Land 5, is basically the same plot of Mario Land 2, except Wario is the one getting kicked out of his castle. Captain Syrup and the formerly Brown Sugar, now Black Sugar gang are stealing back their treasures, along with everything else Wario owns. To keep him off their backs, they flood his castle, throw a snake in his treasure room, and, just to be dicks, they hide an alarm clock that just won't stop going off. After clearing this up, he chases the pirates away from his castle, onto their ship, the SS Teacup, then through a forest, the city, and finally back to Syrup's castle. Wario collects his treasure and defeats Syrup, blows up her castle again, and makes his way back home. The end. 50%? We're only halfway through? Yeah, so just like the other Wario Land games, we have multiple endings to talk about, and these are more complicated. Now, we have complete branching paths in the story, with each one having unique endings. The first of these branches is before even the first level. See, if you don't press anything on the controller, Wario will just sleep through the alarm. Eventually, the pirates will just drag his sleepy ass out and take over the castle. From here, Wario wakes up, charges back in, and defeats Syrup right in his own home, bypassing a majority of the game. The second branch has Wario going past the giant snake in his cellar, letting him catch up with the pirates and follow them through an underground cave system all the way to the woods, skipping his trip on the ship. Speaking of, a third branch exists where Wario just sinks the ship instead of defeating Bobo the boss. Wario goes down with the ship and chases the BSG. What the? Oh, Black Sugar Gang. Okay, I can read my notes. Through a lost underwater civilization, where Syrup is captured by this cute little bubble guy. Wario saves her and takes his treasure back. Wario can also finish things early by defeating Syrup in the factory downtown for a fourth ending. And finally, he can bypass fighting this Space Jam cosplayer to lead Syrup into a haunted house where she's captured by a ghost. Defeating the ghost, Wario attempts to get his treasure, but ends up falling through a trapdoor only to wake up safely in his bed, with the pirates just arriving to begin their initial heist. Implying, at least, that this entire branch is some sort of precognitive dream. So, aside from the ghost ending, all of the branches have roughly the same outcome, with the difference only being on when and where he catches up to Syrup. But there is one final ending. If Wario collects every treasure, every ending, and every panel of this treasure map, he will use it to decipher the location of Syrup's secret stash for one final haul. So, which ending and branch is the canonical one? Well, if the final level is canon, then that could rule out the main ending, as Syrup's castle explodes during that, and yet is shown just before Wario enters her secret cave. The next time we see Syrup, she also has a new ship, meaning the SS Teacup could still be down at the bottom of the ocean. But I'm honestly leaning toward the cop-out answer of all of them being canonical. Everything else must be done before the final level can be unlocked, and it's not exactly out of the question for Mario series villains to attempt the same plan multiple times in a row. It's very possible the Black Sugar Gang just ransacked Wario's home 4 times, and it caused Wario so much stress that he had a nightmare about it happening again. So, yeah, mystery solved. Moving on to the third Wario Land. This one's a little more straightforward story-wise. Wario's flying his plane for fun when the engine inexplicably starts to sputter and he crashes in the middle of the woods. Finds a cave with a cool little music box, but he ends up getting sucked into it. A mysterious figure claims to be the god and protector of the world inside the music box, but his power has been sealed away, in keeping with the theme, 5 other music boxes. The figure asks Wario to find the other music boxes to help release him, promising he can keep any treasure he finds on the way. So Wario scours the land for treasure and the music boxes to help his new friend. He returns with all 5, only to find out that the mysterious figure is really an evil clown god named Rudy, that now wants to both kill Wario and take over the world outside of the music box. So Wario makes the clown punch himself until he's defeated. Doing so turns all of the monsters in the music box back into real people. Apparently they were the ones that sealed away his powers, but he was able to curse them one last time. Thankful for his help, the music boxians send Wario out of the music box along with all the treasure he plundered. A year later, and we got Wario Land 4. Similar to the last game, it's pretty self-contained. Wario reads about an ancient pyramid where a princess from the region was sealed by an entity known as the Golden Diva. Only caring for the treasure within, Wario takes off in his Wario car. If anyone asks, I have a Robbie car. Nearly splatting a cat on the way. Once he arrives at the pyramid, the same cat leads him down into its inner chamber. From here, Wario loots each passage, meeting up with one of the enemies from the last game, Mad Scienstein. So I guess he also escaped the music box. Collecting treasure and beating bosses opens up the entrance to the inner pyramid, which turns out holds the Golden Diva herself. The cat from earlier takes a swipe at her only to be absorbed into the Diva spirit. Wario promptly defeats the Diva, which causes the pyramid to begin collapsing. He of course makes it out with all the loot, including the 4 legendary treasures which begin to transform the cat into the Princess Shokora, the one from earlier. Remember that one? The princess's physical appearance depends on how much treasure Wario collected, going on a scale from Ponyo to Nazca with a little Wario in between. After leaving Wario with a kiss, she seemingly ascends to the afterlife, while Wario drives home to all-you-can-eat steaks. The difficulty you play on determines what car Wario drives during the ending. Normal is probably the canon choice. I don't think the truck or hover car ever appear again. And I mean, he drove a standard car there, so what else would he drive? According to the North American manual, the game actually takes place on its release date of November 19th, 2001.